Right, motion made and probably second that we come out of closed meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Board members like to certify that we only discussed items that we went into closed meeting for during the closed meeting. Mr. Popowich, do you certify?
I so certify.
Mr. Akers, do you certify?
Mr. Chairman, I so certify.
Mr. Seeley, do you certify?
I so certify.
Mr. Vice Chairman, do you certify?
I so certify.
And I certify as well. We'll now call the regular meeting to order, and I would like to ask Mr. Thomas if he would open with invocation, please.
Let us pray. Dear Father God, we come to you this day, thanking you for all the many blessings you've given us along the way. We ask now that you would guide us, strengthen us. Let us do what's right for the county. And dear Father God, as we open our eyes, let us see nothing but you. As we open our hearts, let us see the love for one another that we should have to make this the better place that it should be. Dear Father God, we now ask again that all things in the blessed name of your Son, the Savior, Jesus the Christ, be done. Amen.
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 Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for your invocation, and we'd like to recognize board members present. To my far right, Mr. Bobby Popowich from the Port Royal District, Mr. Wayne Akers from the Madison District, Mr. Jeff Seeley from the Bowling Green District, Mr. Floyd Thomas from the Mattaponi District, and I'm Maxie Roselle, and I represent the Reedy Church District. At this time, we'll start off with any amendments to the agenda. We have any change amendments, Mr. Ashcraft?
Mr. Chairman, there are printed agendas in the back, and each member of the board has a copy. There have been a couple things deleted, and one added at the 7:30 hour, or approximately thereabout. I will give an update on the county's debt summary. That's been added, as well as item H has been deleted. So I would ask approval of the agenda as amended.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ashcraft. Board members? Approval?
Make the motion that we accept the amended agenda.
Second.
Motion made and probably second that we approve the revised agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Open board comments. Mr. Popowich, do you have any?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Akers?
I have a comment.
Mr. Seeley?
No, sir.
Mr. Vice Chairman?
I did have one, but I addressed it with Mrs. Carter, and I'll just take care of it again when she makes her presentation. So thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, and I have none as well. All right, first item, we have presentations and reports. We have the discussion of school-related issues, and Dr. Killo, thank you so much for preparing to meet with us this evening, and go ahead and start your presentation, sir.
How are you? All right. We had a little bit of a PowerPoint on the summer projects and also on the doors that we'll need to put in when we do it. I was going to start out with the amendment to the school budget for this physical year. Late in the year, we had ARRA money that was left over in the neighborhood of, in the number of, it was over 568,000. The school board split that in half, and it came up to 284,666. This money was used to help alleviate the extra money we needed to provide support for Governor Score hiring teachers, which was about $30,000. 2 teachers at the elementary level, 2 teachers at the secondary level were brought back, and SRO was hired with that money. That money is, again, ARRA money or stimulus money, and we didn't have a real figure on that until about the end of June, and that's passed pass-through money or flow-through money from the federal government that would return to them. We actually have that money until September 30th, 2011, that we can spend it in during that time. And as I was sharing with you, and I'm sort of giving a mixed message, we had a larger sum. We split it in half so we could bring back teachers for a 2-year period instead of a 1-year period. I didn't want to hire 10 people and then at the end of the year have to let them go. We figured we could do it with smart use of planning, scheduling, and that would help us. Instead of having to come back and ask for additional money or talk about layoffs, we could promise the people that we could take care of them for 2 years. So that was the decision on that money.
All right, and certainly I have met with the chairman and Dr. Killo and explained that to me, and I just want to make sure that he was able to articulate that to the rest of you guys. And if you had questions on that part, we can address those. All right. Do you have anything, Mr. Popowitz?
Not this time.
All right, Mr. Akers, Mr. Seeley.
Dr. Keeler, will that money carry over since it's federal funds? You know, sometimes there's time limitations on it, and I don't know if that's 9-10 money or 10-11 money or 11-12 money. I guess that's my only question.
The answer to that is we got it for, basically this was money, we were supposed to get $1.3 million last year from the state, and they borrowed that to get the state out of debt. They went ahead and gave it to us ahead last year. When we got that money ahead, it was guaranteed through September 30th, 2011. As long as we encumber it or show that we are spending it on bringing back teachers or keeping teachers employed or staff employed, we're allowed to draw it down through that period of time. That's why we split it over the 2-year period.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we need to really take care of the amended budget for the school board.
Dr. Kilo,
Yes, sir.
could you just say something else? Just anything. Well, I just want to test your mic.
Test,
I couldn't
1, 2.
hear you.
Test your mic.
What's your full
Mr.
name?
Thomas, Greg Killo.
Okay, thank you. Is that better?
A little more.
Can you hear me now?
Can you all?
We can barely hear
See
you.
that in the back?
And they hear you, and I think is a problem.
Okay.
Oh, so it's
Thank you.
me, okay.
You're not the only
Are you saying I need to use my coach's voice?
Use your outside voice.
Yeah, the outside voice. Okay. Okay, gentlemen, how you like to dispose of this item? Motion would be in order.
No more questions?
No more questions?
Mr. Chairman, if that's the case, if there's no more questions, I'd make a motion to approve the school board budget as presented,
Second.
or the amended budget as presented.
Okay, a motion made to approve the amended budget for 2011 school budget. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Okay, Dr. Killo, you want to move ahead with your next topic?
Okay, during the end of the year, we spent $192,048, and that was basically, when we eliminated the 32 positions last year, 21 of those employees were 10-month employees, and they had worked last year. But when we let them go and they didn't have their jobs, we went ahead and paid them for July and August, because they had already worked the time, but because they were going to no longer be under contract with us, we went ahead and did that. We also had two people that were on 11 months benefits that we had reduced them from 11 back to 10, so we went ahead and paid those at $192,048. That money was figured not to be in this year's budget. It's not in there. So that was one-time expenditure to take care of people, you know, when they left June 30th, their contract ended, we went ahead and paid them out to end their contract, and they were done with us. And that was basically it. That's as good an explanation as I can give you on that. But, you know, it only happened because we were in the position of letting people go like you all were this year. Same difference.
Okay. Additional questions on that explanation? All right, I think you articulated that pretty well. Now let's move on with your update. The board had made appropriations for capital improvement projects for many of the schools, and as part of that, Dr. Kilo is going to give us an update on those those improvements. Mr. Parton, can you help them with that computer there? Or Joey?
You should just be able
They
to
think they
pull
just
out-
need to move it.
Should just be able to pull out the back plug, which is the projector, or put your thumb drive in there.
Our videos.
Your what?
There's a video.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just plug yours in. The operative word was should.
And I did have the pleasure of going through with the chairman of the school board to look at some of these projects. And Mr. Wright, I appreciate you taking me around and doing that. And what some of the board members can see for yourself, some of the improvements that were made with that investment.
Yeah, you went and got to visit Madison that day. Is that right?
Yeah, I went to Madison and have visited some of the other schools.
All right, what we're going to start with here is we're going to start with the roof project, which was done at the annex. It was pretty, you'll get to see some pictures of that and see the extensive work that was done. One of the great things that we heard about it is once they got up in there, they did find additional repairs that they needed to do, but overall the roof was in really good condition. Here's what the work and where the leaks were that were in the roof. You actually could see light through them if you were standing up in the attic. Here's some of the work that was done. Again, I know Mr. Roselle and Mr. Seeley were there when they did the dedication on Saturday, and there was a lot of people there, and I don't know if they knew all this work happened, but you can see how nice the slate roof looks. There's the finish. They put the flashing in, but that was what we used part of the money for, to do the roof. And they also did some work on the wood system there. The HVAC replacements at the Governor's School, the contract has been awarded. We're in a situation where we're deciding whether we can do 3 or 4 units. These units have the ability to be expanded later at a cheaper cost if we wanted to try to move some of it upstairs, but we're hovering whether we can do 3 or 4 because the money that we had allocated to do the 4 wasn't enough to cover all 4 units. So we're in the process of doing that. Madison Elementary School, tremendous amount of work. This school is continuing to be transformed. We still need some more things to bring that school all the way in order, but here are the things that we did with the money this summer. This is basically now where the office area is, and that was where the old library was, and that area was gutted and opened up. This is the middle of that project where they had started putting the walls back and ceiling, and this is what the final project looks like. There was a lot of compliments at the opening day, as Mrs. Holt shared, from parents coming in really liking the look and the feel of the new office with the counters, and all of this is very student and parent friendly. This is the renovation of the library area that was the old office area. This gave us a little bit larger area for the library. If you'd seen the before pictures with the books and after, you'd see that this is a little larger. Still not large enough to serve the 500 students that are in attendance there now. Here is midway through the project, and this is what the final project looks like. It's definitely got more room, more mobility, and it's a lot lighter, as you can see. The restrooms were the old restrooms that we never, that were not in the original scope back over 2 or 3 years ago to have anything done to them. They were actually abandoned, and they were just sitting there. And so you can see the work where we started. They had to clean them out. Next is then they started walling them up so that we could use them. And then now they've been turned into conference rooms, meeting rooms. We use a lot of where we have the therapists come in or people that are working with students, one-on-one counseling that occurs in these. And the teachers also have a workroom here and off the library area. Security and entry systems. That's been a major project all year and one of our major concerns. And I'll be talking later about the high school doors. But as you can see, what we're trying to do is provide, in a lot of the schools, when you came into the school, you'd walk straight into the school. And when you walked straight, you could walk right in, and you had to go in, go down the hall, and then get to the office. And there were a lot of children that were moving in and out of that area. So now, even myself, I think the secretaries are enjoying these buzzing systems because they can make me stand at the door and smile an extra minute or two. But if you can go ahead. What you do is when you come up to the door, you press the button. They can talk to you or they can let you in. The other piece here is our cameras. We put cameras around because we didn't have enough, especially, again, at the elementary schools, at the middle school and high school, to cover a lot of the areas. You know, there's a lot of times that situations are happening. Last year we had a very rough situation involving our sheriff deputies, and they did a wonderful response during that incident. But it was good that we had the cameras to be able to show what had happened, and it became very handy that we had that video. So what we did this summer with the money is we put 5 cameras in at Bowling Green Elementary, 5 at the primary, 5 at Madison, 7 at the middle school because there was very few, and 2 additional at the high school for a total of 24, and still in need for more than that. And that, is there any questions on the summer projects? Now we have one more presentation on the doors.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and just do that one, and we'll kind of combine them together.
As you know, well, maybe you don't know, but I was walking last spring, and I was talking to some students, and I was out in the parking lot, and I asked them how they were out there, and they had a pass. But they showed me, I said, don't the doors lock? And, you know, normally, to me, they do lock. But one of them diligently walked me over and showed me how you can shake the door, and the door would jimmy open. When I started getting into talking to the administration there, George, maintenance people, the custodians, they shared that there was quite a few number of doors this way. And you'll see some of the pictures. And my concern is students that have been there know about these doors. In the evening, after everybody leaves, which I consider a very major hazard, I hate doing this because it scares me because, you know, sometimes, you know, I know at the office I'm there late at night, but these doors have to be chained down because they can be pulled open. Same thing from, you can see another view. There's actually 2 or 3 sets of doors that if we don't chain them down could be pulled open. These are the original doors. They're 3-hinge. They have 3 hinges, and they're not made to be what they can be, what you have today. Go ahead. You can see the locking mechanisms and how worn they are. As I talked to Mr. Gagnon today, he had shared with me that he went back and there had been a lot of maintenance and work done on these, and they're pretty much have been overworked. They're at the end of their life. As you can see in this picture, it's a little blurry, but you can see in between the door frame and the door light. We're letting in during the summer, we're trying to cool the outside, and in the winter we're trying to warm it up. Last year I wish we had done more heating it up when the snow came, but you can see these cracks that are in the doors. Same thing, if you could get a better picture, if you look, especially the door on the far left, same thing down below, you can see how that dark space on the bottom part of that door is cracked, and that's where you have a fair amount of light, air coming in and out of that door. You can see the door was popped open there. It takes a little bit to shut it, and then watch. Okay, but that door was popped open by a parent that came over and showed how it could be done. Is this a video? George, that was where somebody again pulled the door open?
Correct, yeah, that was Mr. Baldwin doing that. It was just way too easy, and even pulling the latch tight, it was still easy to open.
What they had done is made sure when the door was locked down that it was pulled up on, and you can see what happened and how the door was yanked open. All right, go to the next one. Solution, replace all the glass doors, and for the exterior gym doors, they have over the 32, 33 years that the building has been in operation. I believe it's now in its 33rd year. A lot of these doors have been opened and closed hundreds and hundreds of times, and they've been repaired hundreds and hundreds of times. We received a bid for about $105,000 that replaces these doors, puts really high-quality doors back in. They're full hinge doors, is that correct, George? And they're just designed and built better. I have spent the day working with George and Leafin, and we've been talking back and forth with Fran to see what money was going to be left over in the monies that we have spent. We don't have a firm figure now because we're still finishing up paying out bills from all the summer projects. We still have the HVAC units that we're putting at the annex, and we were looking to see if there was any other small little pots of money that had been around. We are coming in a need because this is a major safety issue. Mr. Ashcraft called me and asked me to get with him, and we've been trying to work through and get clear on the number, but I cannot give you an official number tonight and what else we would need. I know 80,000's been thrown out, but I don't believe that's an accurate figure. I think we're lower than that. Okay.
Okay. All right, Fran, Fran here, you don't have any final numbers from the $6.8 million that we borrowed for the improvement projects. You know where approximately where we're down to with the projects?
Yeah, I have a basic number. It's about 48,000. However, in our emails back and forth with Leafin, there is an amount that is left over that was given to me almost a year ago of the balance of contracts of the other renovations we did. So Leafin is going to work on trying to track that down. Was the number I got received from Clota some time ago, and that's another 32,000, which makes about 90,000. But until we can track that number down and figure if there are any other contracts still outstanding, or if that was just a number that was given, I don't have an answer yet, because we just started working on that this afternoon.
Okay, well, you guys kind of get together and try to work to finalize those numbers, and we'll report that back, including what's left and the interest and everything that's left. Yeah, next week we have a early meeting for next week.
I think we
So
can
we
have
could
a number by then.
maybe get those numbers together by then, and yes. Okay.
I just didn't want to come with a number and then us not be accurate on it and
Right.
ask you for some and it not be at least within reason of what we've done. These two things also were shared with the school board and last night. Did you all have any questions on this or any of the other items that we're working on?
I think you have given most everything we need tonight, but Mr. Thomas has a question.
Dr. Kelo, during your presentation, you said with regard to the HVAC project, you said, and I was trying to write it down the way you said it, but you said you did what you had money for.
We are in the process of pricing. We got a bid in. It came high. Then we were going to try to do 4 units. The
Okay.
project has not been all the way started. We've gone in and fixed the units. They are working right now temporarily, so the students are in that building. We were wanting to see if we could do 3 or 4. Right now, we only have enough money to do 3.
Okay, and that was really, because I thought the amount of money you asked for was the amount of money that the Board of Supervisors gave you, but that was based on estimates you thought they were going to cost. So
They
it's not
came-
like you didn't get enough money from us, but the bids actually came in higher.
That's correct.
Okay, so now, how much higher was that again?
108,000.
That was the total.
Yeah,
How much higher was that versus what you had already?
We had estimated somewhere about $75,000 to $80,000.
So you're 33,000 short.
Yeah, about 28,000, yeah, 28 to 31.
Okay. Say those numbers to me again, please, just to make sure you had 108.
$125,000 allocated.
You had a,
Fix the roof about $37,000.
okay, can you come to the mic so I can just, because I hate to say I can't see or hear, but it, okay, you said you had, how much
The board
allocated?
approved $125,000.
125,000.
Right.
And the bid came in at,
$108,000.
But that was for 3 items. The 125
Right.
was for the roof replacement,
Right.
hot water, and the HVAC. And we were hoping that we were going to be able to use similar, at that time, we were hoping to use similar barred units that we used at the elementary schools. And we found out that that
They
could
were
not
not,
work
that was not a viable solution.
because of what was in there and the size of the openings and everything else.
okay, so the 125 was for a few things. So,
Correct.
all right, the bottom line is really how much short, based on the bid you just got, are we now? And you said that was 28,000?
I didn't put that figure in front of me, but we have spent about $37,000 to fix the slate roof, came off that 125. So you subtract that, and that's what we have left over to pay, which puts us about $28,000 short. We think we got about 80,000 plus to the 108,000, so 28,000.
When we got into the roof, there was other issues
Yeah.
to repair. It cost that more. We actually did, out of George's budget, all the hot water and the hot water heater and all that was done out of his money. Didn't come out of the
Okay.
CIP.
Correct.
And I'm not criticizing all, I just want to get the number you need.
Yeah.
And if you can, I guess we're probably not going to act on it now, but if you could get us like a spreadsheet or something that says, we had this much, we spent this, this, and this, because I used to be able to count all those things in front of me like that, but,
We can provide that to you. I was waiting on a phone call today. It never came to give me an exact figure for the roof, so I'm estimating $37,400. If I subtract that from 125, that should be my remaining balance of the 125.
okay. Yeah, if you could give us something in writing, I just need to be able to figure
I
out
can
how
provide
much it
that.
is. you
I'll
need.
get that
Okay.
to you tomorrow, or to Mr.
Thank you.
Ashcraft.
But the bottom line was that the bids came in higher than what you thought, so, okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Anything else?
All right, and,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir,
so I
Mr.
have a question.
Sure.
George,
George?
When you put together your estimates, you certainly had to have some ideas as to how much each particular project was going to cost. And you're absolutely correct. You had the Bowling Green annex, elementary annex, roof, HVAC, and the hot water were included in the
Correct.
$125,000. How had you broken it down as to what each project was going to cost?
We estimated the hot water heater would be about $5,000. We actually did it internally for about $2,500.
Right.
We estimated the roof to be about $50,000, and we think it came in about $37,400. I haven't gotten that final number from my vendor as of this morning, so I apologize for not having that number. So the remaining balance is what I have left for my HVAC. The HVACs came in at $108,000.
108 for the HVAC.
Yes, sir. We estimated about $85,000 to $90,000 for that, and we figured we could get that worked in. But
That was for 3 units, 108,000.
Yes, sir.
no.
Actually, that's for 4 units for
That's
$108,000.
So
So-
the way I'm calculating it here, if you spent $37,000 on the roof,
Correct.
that leaves you $98,000, $88,000.
88.
So you're about $20,000 off.
That sounds about right, since I did take care of the hot water
Okay.
out of my
So
bills.
we're talking
That's
about
correct.
$20,000.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
I don't have a calculator in front
Thanks
of me
a
right
lot.
now. Any other questions?
Well, we could write them down and do the math,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
okay.
right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Keeler, can we get these numbers together and find out where everything, we'll try to find out where everything is, and we'll work on these doors next week?
Yes.
That work okay?
My question is, the 4 units versus the 3 units. The 4 units, we're only talking about we're talking about $20,000 here. So when are they planning to start on the units?
Well, we were waiting to see. What we were doing was we were looking internally in our budget, Mr. Akers, to see if we could squeeze any more money ourselves to see if we could cover it. We were also at one point looking at what was left in all of the projects and trying to figure out which way we went with this. So right now we have the bid on the table. We haven't accepted it all the way because we were deciding whether we were going to go with 3 or 4. There is a need for 4, seriously. And the issue with each one of the units is the air conditioning is what's breaking down. We're constantly going in and repairing them pretty much every weekend so the governor's school students can be in there. The heat, we might be able to buy ourselves a little bit of time, but I don't know how far we want to push that.
No.
So if we have the 4 units, we cover all 4 classrooms that they use and where the biggest areas were to fix them.
I mean, Dr. Kelo, I can stand the heat a lot more than the cold, but when it gets cold, you'll get nothing out of those kids. So I'd rather do it now, you know, if we're only talking 20,000 more, rather than try to patch it up again and spend another 20,000 patching it. So if you can tell us how much it is, I think it seems like the board would go along with doing it. So just get us a number of what it is, and we can go ahead. We can do it next week, I guess.
Well, we will get it to Mr. Ashcraft or to you guys as soon as we have that figure.
Okay with you, Jim?
And maybe you have those numbers for our meeting Friday.
Right.
So yes,
We can do that
please.
at the chairman's meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I did have a question.
Mr. Popowitz?
On the doors, how long would it take them to get those finished?
George, how long would it take to fix those doors?
4 to 6 weeks when the contract is signed.
Okay.
4 to 6 weeks, because we've already got we actually went out to bid on them, so we actually had 2 or 3 groups bid on them, and that is the low bid. They were actually using the same thing, but you know how it is. We got a better price from one company, so we would like to consider that, but 4 to 6 weeks is your answer.
Just an aside, when I was in high school, I could pop those same doors that you're looking at popping open. I could pop those open. And that was been many, many years ago.
Now he's confessing, because I would have known what things you
So
could
now
have
we know
Jimmy
who to
did
send the bill
last
to, right?
Yeah.
Me and the rest of the football team.
All right.
All right. I did want to let you know that at the chairman's meeting we will be sharing, because we did finish working on capital needs, we will be sharing that with you, you and Mr. Ashcraft. We had worked through that, and the board did a lot of work on that last night. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that, and hopefully we'll get a chance to review that Friday, and we'll move to the board very soon. Okay. Next, we have our update on status of the 2010 general assessments of real property in Caroline County, and Commissioner of Revenue, Mrs. Sharon Carter, will review that with the board.
No. Where was that? Oh, I didn't go.
We are right at about 92% finished. They will be finishing up the groundwork in the next couple of weeks and moving towards the final sales study. In October, they will be bringing you the facts. We had our public education meeting. We did have quite a few attend. They are seeing that our bricks and mortar are going down, and in some areas by quite a bit. There's no point in speculating on what this number will be. We're going to wait until we have the actuals to give you, because we know your budget depends on that. But our values, not unlike any other area in the state, have gone down. I will tell you, I've been away for 2.5 days in state meetings, and we look pretty good when I see some of them out there. Our Northern Virginia folks have really taken the hardest hit. We have taken a strong one in Caroline, and those figures will be presented to you in October, and then the budget process can begin. Alan, did you give them the PowerPoint? Did you have any questions on the PowerPoint that was in your packet? I know Mr. Seeley was there. We did not give any new values at that time. We did show, and that's in your packet, some of the new sales in different areas of the county, how they're coming back in. And that gives you at least a glimpse of how it is going to look. We expect the Board of Assessors will mail out the notices right after the first of the year. We'll immediately go into the hearings that will be on that form where you can come. We tried to explain at our public meeting exactly what you can bring to those. We asked people if you have an appraisal as much as 12 months old, they would be glad to take that into consideration and looking at your properties. Mr. Pardon will be putting the needed paperwork together for our extension. The old state law, if it's not done by the end of the year, we must put in a formal extension, and he's taking care of that.
Okay, with the slide presentation in front of you and the time you had to review, does anybody have questions of Commissioner at this time? All right, if you have questions, go ahead.
Mr. Carter, I'd asked you about this before we started, and one of my constituents noticed that there was a mailing placed on their door by the assessor because they were not home.
Right.
That particular constituent said, I now have to mail this back to the county. Why do I have to pay for a stamp? Because there was no stamp on it, wasn't pre-addressed or anything. So we know, or we assume in our conversation, we assume that's going to happen quite a bit.
It's going to happen, but there's also an 800 number, and we will take the information over the phone. Okay. We don't want to extend any expense to anyone. It's always nice to get those back because the process of mass appraisal does not allow you to enter into the home unless it is in the form of an appeal from the taxpayer. So we hope they'll either mail them back or use the 800 number, or they can come to the Commissioner's office and have all the information taken there.
And in the case where they don't mail it back, they don't respond at all, the company we hired for the assessment is pretty much going to use the old values they had?
Not old values. They're going to use the old factual information.
Right. Okay.
Now, if they found when they were out there that there was a difference in the actual size of the structure, then we will call that taxpayer and an assessor will need to go out when something needs to be remeasured.
But if that's the case, they can just drop them off at the Commissioner's office?
Yes, sir. Or use the 800 number, or call Mr. Thomas and we'll take care of it. Let us know.
Thank you.
We'll take care of it. Anything else?
All right. Mr. Steele, do you have a question? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Carter. We appreciate your overview of that. Okay. Next, we have a presentation to discuss Fort A.P. Hill land use study. There was a regional meeting with the Colonel over at Fort A.P. Hill, and they asked several counties, including the town of Bowling Green, if we would consider the joint use land study, primarily funded by the military Department of Defense. Mr. Fincham?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have a brief memo and attachment concerning the joint land use study program that is overseen by the Office of Economic Adjustment out of the Department of Defense.